In 2012, China unveiled the FC-31, a stealth jet hailed as the answer to Western air power, and Pakistan was first in line, promising a new era of dominance. But instead of shadowing the skies, the forgotten fighter vanished from every deal, every hangar, every budget. What caused the dream of Pakistan's FC-31 to evaporate so completely? And what does this silence reveal about the shadow war over South Asia's skies? On a grey autumn morning in 2012, the world's defence press gathered on the factory floor at Shenyang Aircraft Corporation. Cameras flashed as the FC-31 prototype rolled into view, sleek, angular, unmistakably modern. A crimson banner overhead proclaimed the arrival of China's next-generation fighter. The jet wore many names: FC-31 for export, J-31 for domestic programs, and the Falcon in Avic's official press kits. Each title hinted at a different future, one for global buyers, one for Chinese ambitions, and one for the narrative of technological leap. Standing beside the jet, Avic spokespeople delivered a message aimed far beyond the factory gates. The FC-31, they said, would offer fifth-generation stealth at a fraction of the Western price. It was pitched as the world's affordable answer to the F-35, promising advanced radar-absorbent coatings, twin engines for agility, and the latest in digital avionics. The words cost-effective and export-ready appeared in every statement, framing the jet not just as a symbol of China's aerospace progress, but as a direct challenge to the dominance of American and European fighters. Reporters jotted down details: a projected price tag that undercut rivals, a twin-tail silhouette designed to scatter radar, and the promise of rapid development. The prototype's matte finish and canted surfaces echoed the lines of the world's most advanced aircraft, while Avic's brochures boasted of a future where Allied air forces could match the technological edge of the West. Every detail, from the open bay doors to the carefully staged lighting, was crafted to send a message of confidence. Within hours, images of the FC-31's debut circled the globe. Headlines called it China's answer to the West, a stealth fighter for the next generation. The branding, FC-31, J-31, Falcon, spread through defense circles, each variation fueling speculation about buyers, capabilities, and intent. The factory floor debut was more than a technical milestone. It was a declaration that the race for affordable stealth had a new contender. The world, and especially those watching from South Asia, took notice. Zhuhai's airshow grounds in 2014 buzzed with anticipation as the FC-31 mock-up took center stage. Defense journalists crowded the rope lines, their cameras trained on the jet's angular frame. Chinese officials in press suits stood ready to field questions, while banners in Mandarin and English promised a new era of air power. The promotional cards boasted an active electronically scanned array radar, radar-absorbent coatings, and a twin-engine setup for agility and safety. Brochures called it a fifth-generation fighter for the world, and the phrase cost-effective stealth echoed across the exhibition halls. Pakistan's delegation arrived early, their interest unmistakable. Reporters from Islamabad and Karachi filed stories describing the FC-31 as a potential answer to India's Rafale, with headlines touting its stealth features and advanced avionics. Pakistani TV crews filmed walkarounds, capturing every angle of the mock-up. In interviews, PAF officers spoke of a future where the FC-31 could fly alongside or even replace the F-16s, especially as regional tensions simmered. The timing seemed perfect. China-Pakistan defense ties were deepening under the CPEC umbrella, and the FC-31's export pitch fit neatly into the narrative of strategic self-reliance. By 2016, the airshow spectacle had only grown. A revised mock-up appeared on the tarmac, featuring a lengthened fuselage and new engine fairings. Chinese engineers pointed out the redesigned cockpit and hinted at a future with the more powerful WS-19 engine. Spec sheets on glossy display boards listed internal weapons bays and next-generation data links, while animated graphics looped on overhead screens, showing the jet evading radar and launching missiles from hidden compartments. The international press amplified the excitement. Headlines from defense weeklies and online forums speculated on the FC-31's export prospects, with Pakistan always near the top of the list. Some called it Pakistan's stealth leap. Others framed it as a direct challenge to Western air power in South Asia. The air show floors became a stage for ambition, and the FC-31 story played out in real time for anyone willing to believe in the promise of affordable stealth. For 2 years, the buzz was impossible to ignore. The FC-31 was everywhere, on posters, in interviews, in the background of every major defense summit between Beijing and Islamabad. The hype reached its peak as the world waited to see which air force would be first to sign on the dotted line. In the months following the FC-31's airshow spotlight, Pakistan's Air Force leaders spoke with a confidence that caught the attention of defense watchers worldwide. In November 2014, Pakistan's defense minister stated in a televised interview, "The PAF has expressed interest in acquiring the J-31 stealth fighter." That sentiment echoed through headlines and panel discussions. At international defense expos, PAF spokespeople described the FC-31 as a natural fit for Pakistan's future fleet, sometimes hinting at numbers, 30 or 40 jets, without confirming any contracts. News segments in 2015 and 2016 replayed quotes from PAF officials who called the jet a platform under active consideration and a candidate for next-generation air superiority. Pakistani media carried these statements with optimism, framing the FC-31 as a leap forward, a response to India's new Rafale jets and a symbol of the country's deepening defense partnership with China. Press releases from the PAF referenced ongoing talks, and reporters described a mood of expectation, with phrases like "foundation laid" and "induction in the near future" appearing in both Urdu and English outlets. The public tone was one of readiness, as if the only question left was when, not if, the FC-31 would wear Pakistani roundels. Yet, as the months rolled on, these official signals and media stories stood in place of hard evidence. The declarations set a baseline of intent, raising expectations both at home and abroad, while the details, timelines, contracts, delivery dates, remained just out of reach. Defense auditors tasked with tracking every rupee spent on national security found themselves searching for something that simply wasn't there. Between 2014 and 2025, Pakistan's official defense budgets list upgrades for the JF-17, allocations for F-16 maintenance, and line items for airbase improvements, but not a single entry for FC-31 procurement, training, or infrastructure. Parliamentary records, usually detailed down to the last imported bolt, offer no trace of a stealth fighter deal, no contract numbers, no payment schedules, no offset agreements. Satellite imagery from PAC camera and other major PAF airbases shows the steady churn of JF-17 production, with rows of familiar single-engine jets in various states of assembly. Nowhere does a twin-tailed, stealth-shaped airframe appear. No new hangars, no specialized shelters for low observable coatings, no deliveries by air or rail. Even in China, open-source analysts scanning Shenyang's tarmac in commercial satellite photos spot J-20S and naval prototypes, but no evidence of FC-31s bound for export. The press releases and televised statements stand in sharp contrast to the blank spaces in the ledgers and the empty corners of the airfields. The absence is not just a gap, it's a silence that grows louder with every missing page and every unclaimed parking spot on the ramp. On the drawing board, the FC-31 promised the sleek lines and canted angles of a true fifth-generation stealth fighter. Promotional materials highlighted its internal weapons bay, a feature essential for hiding missiles and bombs from enemy radar. Yet, close analysis of airshow imagery and prototype walkarounds reveals an important distinction. While both the original 31001 and the later 31003 prototypes displayed a central bay, there is no public evidence of that bay completing a full cycle of weapons release and closure under operational conditions. Photos show the doors open on static displays, but no official footage or documentation confirms live fire tests or separation trials at combat speed. Defense analysts note that in Western programs like the F-35, such tests are rigorously documented and publicized, forming a critical proof point for stealth claims. In the FC-31's case, this absence leaves a gap between intention and demonstrated capability. Stealth is not just a matter of shape, it is also a question of materials. Chinese press releases and AVIC brochures since 2016 have touted radar-absorbent coatings and low-observable composites. The matte finish and dark grey surface treatments seen on prototypes echo the look of mature stealth aircraft. But the effectiveness of these coatings remains unproven outside controlled marketing environments. No declassified radar cross-section measurements have surfaced, and independent assessments are limited to photo-based modeling or expert speculation. Western aerospace engineers point out that true low observability depends on more than just surface paint. It requires precise application, rigorous maintenance, and resilience against weathering, none of which have been demonstrated for export clients. For Pakistan, these technical ambiguities presented a dilemma. The physical presence of an internal bay and stealthy contours signaled ambition, but the lack of operational proof raised questions about battlefield survivability. Without hard evidence of weapons bay reliability or validated stealth coatings, the FC-31's claim to fifth-generation status remained open to doubt. As procurement decisions loomed, these engineering uncertainties would weigh heavily against the promises made on the showroom floor. Engineers at Shenyang spent years promising that the FC-31's twin engines would unlock a new era of performance for export buyers. The original prototype relied on the Russian RD-93, a stopgap solution that left the jet underpowered compared to its Western rivals. Hopes rested on China's indigenous WS-13 and later the upgraded WS-19 to finally deliver the thrust and reliability needed for a true fifth-generation platform. Yet, as test logs from 2016 through 2024 reveal, both engines faced persistent setbacks. The WS-13 struggled with hot weather endurance and afterburner reliability, critical for operations in South Asia's climate. The WS-19, touted as a breakthrough with a projected 12 tons of thrust, remained in the testing phase for years. Publicly available flight records and defense analyst reports show no evidence of the FC-31 flying operational sorties with production-standard WS-19 engines as of late 2025. These technical hurdles carried a heavy price tag. Early marketing suggested the FC-31 would undercut Western stealth fighters, but as development dragged on, cost estimates crept upward. By 2024, open-source defense budget analyses and leaked Department of Defense price sheets placed the FC-31's projected unit cost between $70 and $85 million. That figure landed uncomfortably close to the F-35A's international price, which hovered around $80 to $90 million per jet. The F-35, already fielded by over a dozen air forces and backed by a global sustainment network, offered a proven track record. The FC-31, by contrast, had yet to enter operational service anywhere, even within China. For Pakistan, the arithmetic was stark. Adopting the FC-31 meant paying nearly as much as for an F-35, without the benefit of established logistics, spare parts, or a track record in combat. Defense economists and former procurement officers pointed out that the cost of integrating a new engine family, training pilots, building maintenance infrastructure, stocking unique spare parts, would add millions more to the bill. As engine specialists warned in trade journals, an unproven power plant is more than a technical risk. It is a budgetary gamble that can ground an entire fleet. By 2025, the FC-31's propulsion and price equation had shifted from promise to uncertainty, casting a long shadow over its export ambitions. Draft memoranda exchanged between Pakistani and Chinese negotiators in 2015 laid out the first concrete barriers to a seamless FC-31 deal. On paper, the fighter's export version promised advanced features, but the fine print told a different story. Chinese officials insisted that the AESA radar's source code would remain sealed, a black box, immune to local modification or upgrade. Engine technology was similarly off-limits. The WS-13 and later WS-19, both critical to the FC-31's performance, were offered only as finished units, with no transfer of intellectual property or production know-how. Legal analysts reviewing these export clauses noted that even maintenance manuals would be tightly controlled, limiting Pakistan's ability to adapt or sustain the fleet independently. Diplomatic cables from Islamabad's embassies in Beijing and Washington reveal a growing sense of frustration. Pakistani defense planners, eager for autonomy, found themselves boxed in by Chinese export restrictions on one side and US legal threats on the other. By 2017, the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, CAATSA, hovered over every major arms deal with China. The law empowered Washington to penalize any country engaging in significant military transactions with sanctioned Chinese entities, including AVIC, the FC-31's manufacturer. US officials quietly warned their Pakistani counterparts that a stealth fighter purchase could trigger sanctions, jeopardizing not just funding but also support for legacy platforms like the F-16. Within Pakistan's defense bureaucracy, these risks became impossible to ignore. The prospect of acquiring a high-tech jet only to face software lockouts, engine dependency, and the threat of international sanctions made the FC-31 a diplomatic and logistical gamble. Each new round of negotiations narrowed the options, pushing decision-makers to weigh the cost of ambition against the reality of restricted technology and escalating geopolitical pressure. Inside Air Headquarters, the calculus changed from ambition to practicality. PAF's maintenance planners mapped out what it would mean to introduce a clean-sheet stealth fighter into their fleet. Every line on the chart told the same story. The FC-31 would demand a new supply chain, specialized hangars, and a training pipeline from scratch. Ground crews would face unfamiliar engines, unique stealth coatings, and avionics with no local support. Each of these hurdles added cost and risk, not just for procurement, but for every flight hour over the next 30 years. The JF-17 Block 3 offered a different path. As the first production jets rolled out of PAC camera, they arrived fitted with an active electronically scanned array radar, AESA, capable of tracking multiple targets in any weather. Helmet-mounted displays gave pilots a 360-degree combat view, while beyond visual range missiles extended reach far past earlier models. These upgrades closed the gap with regional rivals at a price point the PAF could sustain. Logistics favored the familiar. The Block 3 shared its airframe and many systems with earlier JF-17s. Maintenance crews needed only incremental retraining, not a wholesale shift. Spare parts, ground support tools, and simulators already lined the shelves at main operating bases. Every rupee spent on the JF-17 reinforced local jobs and kept the industrial ecosystem alive. For planners, this continuity outweighed the uncertain promise of stealth. On paper, the FC-31's capabilities dazzled. In reality, the Block 3's proven upgrades, lower operating costs, and seamless integration offered a practical edge. The decision to invest in what worked, rather than gamble on what might someday arrive, became the quiet logic behind Pakistan's fighter fleet for the next decade. In over a decade since its 2012 debut, not a single FC-31 has entered service with Pakistan or any other air force. Despite official statements and repeated air show appearances, no formal contracts, budget allocations, or delivery schedules for the FC-31 exist in public Pakistani or Chinese defense records through 2025. Technical audits revealed missing internal weapons bays and ongoing engine delays, with projected costs matching operational F-35s. Export restrictions, US sanctions risk, and the proven success of the JF-17 Block 3 steered the Pakistan Air Force toward homegrown upgrades instead. Yet, questions remain. Was the FC-31 ever a genuine procurement plan or simply a diplomatic gesture? To this day, details on high-level negotiations and full technical specifications remain classified. What is clear is that Pakistan's vision for stealth shifted from imported promises to domestic solutions. The FC-31 story stands as a reminder that in military aviation, ambition alone is never enough. Evidence, capability, and timing decide which dreams take flight.